Hi, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you joining me. I know that we have viewers from all over the place, from Michigan to Texas to Florida to Missouri. So every now and then, I just like to welcome you in a little bit earlier than the terrestrial audience. That means that those people that are driving around, because we have a lot of delivery drivers and a lot of truck drivers. But I just want to let you know I sincerely appreciate you. Many of you come in a little earlier. Many of you come back and you watch the program in archives. You go to ignitems.tv site, and I appreciate you joining me. I do this not for my own health or wealth, but I do it because it's a part of my ministry. And plus, it is the ministry that God is utilizing through the talents and gifts that He has given through my life, that you're encouraged, that you're motivated, that you're inspired to embrace your created purpose and live it with the spirit of excellence. You are going to enjoy my guest today, Candace Robins. You are going to enjoy her testimony. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another edition of Defining Moments. I'm your host, Larry Nix, and thank you for joining me. Happy blessed Tuesday. Man, we're one day from hump day. I know you're like, man, the weekend was like a year ago. No, the weekend was just a couple of days ago, and hump day is tomorrow. But listen, we're grateful for every day. Tara, I see you all the way from St. Louis, Missouri. I appreciate you joining us. Listen, I want you to know that you matter. I get up every day anxiously awaiting the assignment that God has placed in my day. I don't even, when I get in my vehicle, my wife and I, we have this habit, even when we're together, but most of the time we're not, we're in separate vehicles. But before we put our vehicle in reverse, we say to the Lord, whatever you have planned for us, help us to see it and help us to walk in your plan, and not that we've created a plan and we want you to bless our plan, but help us to understand the plan that you have created for us and to walk in it, because we know that the plan that you've already designed and ascribed for us, it is the place that will bring you the greatest glory and will give us the greatest peace. So I thank you. I thank you, Lord, for trusting us with this ministry. Once again, our only motivation is that you're inspired, you're encouraged, you're challenged to embrace your divine purpose and live it with the spirit of excellence. You're not here accidentally, you're not here incidentally, but you're here providentially, and God has a plan and God has a purpose for you. I'm not going to mismanage our time today, because my guest today, Candace Robins, she's a friend of 40 years. I'm like, how can she be a fan for 40 years and she's only 21 years old? I was kind of giving you a plug there, Candace. But she's been a family friend. Her family has been friends of my wife's family for, over 40 years. Candace Robins, she's a native of Jackson, Mississippi, has served in ministry leadership positions for over 15 years. She's currently the Director of Programs for Jackson Leadership Foundation. She has an appreciable resume, with graduating from Jackson State University, pursuing her MBA. She's from a family that is known the statewide as being in ministry. Her grandfather, her father, and her mother, and her sisters and brothers, her nieces and nephews, I think even her dog, have been called into ministry some fashion or another. You're going to enjoy her testimony. All right, so let's start it this way. Someone that had created, because she's very strategic, she's a strategist. Someone that had designed her future. She thinks 10 years ahead, and this is going to bless you, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really want you to listen to this. Hello, Sister Winsley. God bless you. Someone that had planned her life 10 years ahead. She was going to medical school. She had determined she was going to probably be a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon. She's just that smart. But God interrupted her plans to say, that's your way, but it's not my way. And now she's a part of a ministry, a global ministry, that her work is overseeing ministries in the local communities. Candace Robins, welcome back to Defining Moments.
Thanks. I'm excited to be back here sitting with you.
I'm excited.
It's a pleasure.
So, first of all, I introduce you as Director of Programs for Jackson Leadership Foundation. First of all, what is Jackson Leadership Foundation?
So, Jackson Leadership Foundation, so we are a city-centered nonprofit organization, and we're faith-based, and so we are we care about Jackson, and we care about the communities, and so what we do is we want to see Jackson transformed. And so we feel that we can do that and help accomplish that by working with supporting ministry leaders who are already boots on the grounds that are doing the work. We help support them in the work that they feel that the Lord has called them to do. And so we do that in 3 ways: through our leadership development program, network and donor support, and we also do that through we execute it through our 7 programs. And so the first program is our leadership program, and so we have about 6 trainings a year, and there's opportunities basically to help ministries to scale their ministry. Our Nehemiah Network, so we basically mobilize churches, families, individuals, businesses who want to get plugged in, who want to engage in Jackson, but they don't know how. And so we help mobilize those volunteers. Our other program is our Nehemiah Network. I'm sorry, that's the same thing. Our Ministry Accelerator program, which basically we have 4 ministries that come under our nonprofit, and we help oversee back office support. And so those ministries are Hope Exchange. They work around workforce development. We have our Red Door Jackson, which is a mentorship program for students K through 12. We have Grant Me Justice, which they serve families who have lost a loved one to gun violence in the city of Jackson. We also have Maggie's Mission, who work with women who are incarcerated. Two of our newer programs that we have is our 236 Place. So that is our actual location, 236 East Capitol Street. And so it's a shared office space that's available at a subsidized cost for ministry leaders in the city who are looking for community, because a lot of times ministry leaders are often isolated and working in silos. And so this brings them to work alongside with other ministry leaders, help them build relationships, share resources, share ideas. And so we have that. And then the last one is a newer project called the Barnabas Project, and basically it's equipping, sending out our next generation of leaders ages 18 to 24. It's a leadership development program for them, and it's also discipleship and the service learning opportunities that they get to serve. So that's
a whole lot.
Right, it's a lot.
That's a mouthful. So I guess my question is, why such a need for a Jackson Leadership Foundation? All right. Now, I got a part B and a part C, D, E, F, G to that question. Why such a need for Jackson Leadership Foundation?
Well, the birth of it, so pretty much a lot of ministry leaders, I've worked with a lot of ministry leaders over my years. And one of the
ministry leaders, including like
community
pastors,
leaders. It could be pastors,
parachurch ministries,
nonprofit organizations. And so oftentimes they are overwhelmed, they're tired, they're burnt out. We've seen a lot of turnover in leadership just because of just being worn out. And then oftentimes they're under supported. They lack the resources and the help that they need. And so that is where we come in to simply come alongside them and say, hey, what way can we help you? And so that is kind of what the need is, and that's how we kind of try to support, because there's a dire need. That's something that I hear all the time. People are connecting with me. Yeah,
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. You know, I think one of the greatest challenges, it's critical. One of the worst things that can happen is that a person has a good heart, a great heart to help the community. They have a great idea, and they try to go it alone, and they burn out.
Absolutely.
And now the danger of burnout, particularly if you're a church, the danger of burnout is that burnout has a tendency to not only turn you away from the building called church, because like they're in the middle of the ocean in a typhoon by themselves, and nobody is helping. All these people say, listen, we're all Christians. It not only has the potential of turning them away from the building called church, but even possibly turning them away from their faith, because they're disillusioned.
Right. And then to your point about just being, overwhelmed and isolated is one of the things. We were made for community. The Bible talks about man, not being good for man to be alone. It's not just talking about marriage, but also just one another. And
That's
so
good.
we can kind of carry that together. And so I think those are ways that we can just come along to continue to support those ministry leaders who are needing that support.
So let's talk about burnout. Is and you have found, because you've been around this all of your life, because you come from a faith-based, family, pastors and singers and evangelists, so forth and so on, and so you know this. How serious is burnout?
Oh, it's very serious. And so, as you know, I've seen it I've been serving in ministry for over 20 years on both sides of the coin. So for the parachurch and for church. And so it's kind of one of those things. It's a common thing that I see. And because of that, you see bad decisions being made sometimes because of just, you've seen those things happen, or you see people oftentimes being burnt out because it's like, I think you were a pastor prior. And so you know how it is where you have the faithful few that are doing everything and they get burnt out, like the volunteers and certain things like that. And it's like, that's not, how can we kind of collaborate and work together and share the load? And so it's definitely something that I see that's just, and I've not seen any relief from it. It's just been a constant ongoing of like people just, when you think about the Bible, like, look, Jesus modeled that. When he was called into the ministry, he had 12 disciples. Why are you trying to do everything by yourself?
That's powerful.
So
Jesus didn't try to do everything by himself.
Yeah.
He had 12 disciples.
Right, exactly.
So listen, let's talk about your history. Let's talk about you rearing. You were raised in a family that, man, from as long, I knew your uncle. He pastored a historic church. I knew your grandmother, and she didn't meet a stranger. I know your dad. He can talk to a tree, and the tree will animate itself and talk back. Did you feel pressured? Did you feel pressured that I've got to be doing this kind of work?
I did not feel pressured. It felt natural. It's always been natural. I would say, growing up in the church and being around a musical family in a church where our faith was like it was deep rooted in us. I don't remember ever a time where I did not know, like, that I didn't know who the Lord was. It was kind of one of those things, like, it was introduced to me. He was, at a very early age, and it was a part of when we got together for family gatherings. We volunteered. Like, that was just a natural way of life. And I saw my grandparents do it. I saw my uncles and my aunts and my parents do that. Like, that's always just been deeply embedded. And naturally, as children, when you see, I was thinking about the Michael Jackson movie. So, like, even how, Janet ended up getting in the industry. She was sitting there at the nobody made her sing. Even somebody may say differ.
Yeah,
but
Joe had different. That's right, Joe.
But with Janet, it seemed like something she actually genuinely enjoyed, and she chose for herself, at least from me looking. But it's just one of those things. I think it was something that I saw that was there, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I just wanted to be a part of it.
But they didn't put your dad and mom. They didn't put you in the headlock and say you're first of all, you're going to be a Christian and you're going to serve in church. Mm-mm.
They didn't. And here's the other cool thing. They didn't just tell us, like, it was like, hey, why don't you sing in a choir? Or, we would come to choir rehearsal, but they sang in a choir. Like, anything that I was asked to do, they did it. So they weren't asking me to go, hey, go take out the trash. They were taking out the trash.
Wow.
So it's kind of one of those things of, like, they were, so naturally when I saw them singing in the choir, I want to sing in the choir. I see them ushering, I want to usher. Or I see somebody playing the piano, I want to learn how to play. So it was like my natural curiosity and just wanting to be a part.
So, my wife did something very, very, I thought I'll remember it for the rest of my life. So I had to preach a couple of weeks ago, and she introduced me. The pastor asked her to introduce me. And she said some things about me. I had to compose myself before I got up. In fact, when I even stood up, I had to compose myself because I heard her say some things about me I never heard her say. She said, for years, I've watched my husband spend countless hours studying his Bible. For years, I've noticed my husband praying at night, during the night, in the middle of the night, praying for our children, praying for praying for his friends, praying for other people. I just noticed, and that just almost brought me to tears, almost about to bring me to tears. Now, well, I didn't say, okay, Carl, I'm about to go pray. Do you want to notice me? Or I'm about to study. You want to take pictures? It was just, it becomes a habit of mine because I enjoy spending time with the Lord. But she was noticing me.
Yeah.
And so our son gave us a call a couple of weeks ago and said, Dad, I'm being led to teach a Bible study for young men. I'm like, wow. You know, and so he started asking me questions. But I never told him to do this. So my question to you is, for parents, how important is it for you to be careful and cautious how you live in front of your children?
Oh yeah, it's very important how you live and how you model out your faith, because kids are watching that. They're looking for the disciplined habits, and they're looking for, you know, is this person gonna, you know, you're asking me to do something. Are you living up to this? And it also shows like how much not I don't want to say invested you are, but how serious and committed that you are in your faith. And so, and because of that, these are the fruits of that, where you see me, you know, studying my word, or you see me serving my communities or praying for one another, different things. And I think children naturally pick that up.
Well, it's important for them, but how important is your faith to you? How important is having a relationship, a personal relationship, not a vicarious through your parents,
right? But
how important is it for Candace to have a personal relationship with the Lord?
Oh yeah, you have to know him for yourself. Like, you have to know the Lord for yourself.
Why?
It's important. It's a vital part of God wants relationship with us. Like, he wants to know us, and he wants us to know him. And so part of that is, you know, we are image bearers of the Lord, and he wants relationship with us. And so that's pretty much the importance of it for me, of just wanting that relationship with him.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Candace Robins. We're trying to chisel up why she's not in medical school, but why she's director of program. Stay tuned. Hey, listen, so that becomes the question. Why are you not, number one, at MD Anderson, head of neurosurgeon? Because that's the path you had put yourself on. Or Wall Street. But yet you're in Jackson, Mississippi. Nothing wrong with Jackson, Mississippi. All right. You're in Jackson, Mississippi, director of programs. Nothing wrong with you being director of programs, but it wasn't your plan. Why?
Well, for me, I'm a rule follower. And I am naturally a person who try to make practical decisions. And so I was pretty good in math. I mean, in math and in science. I was just naturally good at it, and I enjoyed it. Just because I was good at it. I think that was kind of like the incentive.
I'm still trying to figure out what subject I was good at.
I was pretty good.
Communication, that was my major. Oh, don't call that out. So you are you felt, and you've always been a natural rule follower. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you know that's going to come back.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were on a trajectory. You're going to go to medical school. You're going to be some kind of brilliant doctor, but you're not that. So, number one, are you disappointed? Do you like, God, why? But then let's talk about why.
Okay, I'll start from the back where you said, well, am I disappointed? No, absolutely not. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I shouldn't have never. I'm glad that I did not go down that route. And so actually the Lord started working with me early on, probably around the age 18 and 19. I actually started working at a organization that we're actually partners with called Camp Pioneer. And so I was working there as one of the camp counselors, and I worked in other roles that they had as well. But I did that for a few years, you know, in the summer. And so I feel like that's where the Lord started planting seeds of me getting into ministry, because by the time I got to my junior year, of course, I had already the majority of my classes were in the medical, were in pre-med. And so I was like, let me just go ahead and finish my biology degree. But by the time I became a junior, I no longer, it's like the Lord took the taste out of my mouth, or the desire for me to even want it. Like, I had no desire. And not even just that. I used to watch, you remember back in the day, TLC, where people giving birth and them doing all these kind of like little and I used to love it. I'll be sitting there eating. I remember my mama saying, like, I can't see how you sit there and watch it now. And by the time I got my junior year, at that time we're doing the labs, and so we're dissecting and certain things like that. Right now, if my child, if I see blood, I'm almost like freaking out.
Really?
And that it didn't used to be that way. It's like it happened overnight, to where he just kind of took the desire out of me. And I think he needed to do that, because I'm very if I put my mind to it, I'm gonna do it. So, and it's one of those things where I think he needed to remove that desire from me completely. But at that time, I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And then my mother, at the time, she was in school district, and so she was a teacher, and so I was like, well, hey, well, if I finish my biology, I can just teach, and so those I was kind of pursuing doing that, and so that's pretty much how I kind of went away from not going to medical school and pursuing that.
So listen, for those that are watching and listening to say, I have dreams and aspirations. All right, see how I set it up. I have dreams. I have aspirations. I have goals, but it's not panning out.
Yep.
And I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Am I going to die? Am I going to die with this in my heart? How would you encourage them?
Yeah,
because you said something. In fact, let me put this little plug in real quick. You said something on the podcast, and ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock on our podcast at ignitems.tv. My super producer, Kim, had already queued it up in the queue, and I saw it flash on my screen. Join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock for ignitems.tv. Listen, you're talking about 60 minutes of an uninterrupted conversation with Candace, and she talks about a lot of things that we won't have time to talk about today, but you are really going to enjoy the conversation with Candace Robins tomorrow at 11 o'clock on ignitems.tv. And, of course, join us on Thursday for Bishop Barlow. Wow, what an incredible story he has about his ministry. He lost his hair when he was in the 3rd grade. He turned that into ministry and bullying into ministry. He has written a book about how to overcome bullying and the ministry that he has. You're going to be blessed by that. So join us Thursday for that. But for those that are disappointed, for those that feel overlooked and sidelined, how would you encourage them?
I would just encourage you to just to be still and sit. A lot of times it's not, there's a season for everything. And I think resting and knowing that the Lord is going to guide your path, guide your footsteps, is probably the best thing that I could say, of just sitting and waiting to hear from the Lord in those decisions. And a lot of times those disappointments, you don't really know what the Lord is doing on the other side of that. So just wait, because he has something far better than you could ever dream of or strategically plan. Like I tried.
And you know what? In full transparency, you said on the podcast, you said, if you keep pursuing and you remain persistent, the Lord will let you have the steering wheel.
He will. Oh yeah. Oh, he will. You don't want the steering wheel. Trust me. You don't want the steering wheel.
Because you were in a season, all right, and you were very focused and passionate. Some folk call it bullheaded, all right. And the Lord said, "Have at it." But you said on the podcast, one of the best things that the Lord allowed for you is for you to wear yourself out.
Yep.
Talk about that.
Yeah, the Lord allowed me to wear myself out. I tried this, I tried that, everything. I was completely lost. And I'm really good with, when I do my strategic planning, I don't just have a plan A and a plan B. It goes to J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And so like I was just out of resources. I was out of ideas. I was completely lost. And so the Lord needed me to be in a point of like, are you done? You finished? Like I needed to be worn out, because that allowed me to be in a place that he needed to be, still. He needed me to be still, to stop, because I was busy trying to fix things, and I wasn't allowing, it was like, hey, I wasn't giving the Lord. I needed to put him in his proper position.
What does that mean? You had to put you said a couple of things. The Lord, didn't necessarily ordain for you to be worn out, but he allowed you to be worn out because you needed to really come into an alignment with having an organic, true relationship with him, which is his ultimate motivation.
Right. And so for me, you use the image about driving the car and being a steer. So, typically the Lord should be, driving. And so in that particular time, I was driving, and I'm pretty sure he was on the back seat. I put him in the back seat, just kind of like and I was adamant about going in this direction and doing this. And if my tire was messed up, I would go out there and try to patch it myself, or I call roadside assistance. Like, I was making the things happen. And because of that, I was also, at the same time, I wasn't allowing the Lord to do what he does. I was trying to take over. I was manning the ship on my own.
So I'm gonna use this word that seems appropriate. You were living a conundrum. A conundrum means same, different, opposite. So your brain was saying, I'm going to go to medical school. I'm going to be this incredible doctor. But the Lord was saying, I have other plans for you. And that's the difference of people pursuing being happy. They go buy a purse, they go buy a house, they go buy a car. Well, once that emotion fades away, then now they're unhappy again. And the Lord has placed you in a place of peace because you have peace about the decision that you made.
Yeah.
Stepping into ministry and building his kingdom as opposed to building yours.
I do. I'm at peace. Best decision I could have ever made. I can't imagine what life would have looked like if I would have stepped into that career. I'm pretty sure I would have been burnt out and just I would have been unhappy, and I would have been a different person.
But you also said something, Sister Vanessa, I'm going to say your whole name, Vanessa Prentice from Vicksburg, Mississippi, one of my church members. She'll always be one of my church members. Love you so much. I was a better pastor because of Vanessa Prentice and others. And then our firstborn, Dominique, all the way from Tampa, Florida. I see you, girl. Love you so much. Appreciate you, sweetheart. I'll see you in about 4 days. Tampa bound. All right. You know where I want to go. All right. So get ready. But listen, for those who say, God, I want to do it my way, and they put their hopes and aspirations in people, places, and things, and if I can't get people, places, and things, then I feel disappointed. What do you say to that? Which is fictitious and superficial anyway.
Yeah, you should. Your hope should be in Christ. Your firm foundation should be you're putting your hope and faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, because that is leaning on him, resting in him and his promises, resting in his will and his desires.
What does that mean, resting in him?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because a lot of times it's like, well, hey, lean on the Lord and different things like that. And for me, resting means like there's a calmness, right? There's a peace. Like if you're resting, you're not in a state of France. Like there's no anxiety. There's no, I'm trying to think of this and, like I'm not afraid. Like I feel protected. I feel safe here.
But even though the cloth is unraveling, you still feel protected and safe.
Yeah. No, in my mind, in my heart, I know that, you know what? It is well with my soul. Like, we were talking about before of like the Lord, this too shall pass. If I'm going through something, there's something that's going on, I know that this will pass. And so just knowing that at the end of the day, all things work together, for the good of those who love him. And so just resting in God's promise and faithfulness.
I about to say you're not a preacher. You're about to preach a little bit. Listen, one of the things that, you said earlier on the podcast, you said storms don't last always. And people really need to get that, don't they? Storms don't last always. And if you're a child of God, God allows storms to shape us and mold us.
Of course.
and to prune us and refine us. They don't last always. And so I believe this. I say that the Lord allows storms to come in our life, not because he's trying to kill us, he's trying to murder us, he's trying to extinguish us, but he allows storms to come in our life so that we can see our panic moment.
Yeah.
To see those areas in our life that we need to work on.
Yeah, it exposes us and it reveals things.
Well, I like that word.
Yeah.
Exposes the things that we need to work on.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, he wants to get closer to us, and he wants us to get closer to him. Jesus' disciples, they were on a boat. The Bible said there arose a storm. They panicked. They came to Jesus and said, Jesus, you're asleep in the middle of the storm. Yeah. The Bible says there arose a storm. They didn't sail into a storm. The Bible said they were in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. There arose a storm. They panicked. They came to Jesus and said, Jesus, you don't care that we perish. You're asleep. Jesus got up, looked at the storm and said, be still. And then looked at the disciples and said, oh, you of little faith. Now, why did he tell the disciples, oh, you of faith? Because the previous chapters and the previous days, they had witnessed miracles after miracles. Jesus performed miracles after miracles. And so when Jesus allowed a storm, he prepped them. So when you're about to make me preach over here.
I should have brought a tambourine with me.
I know it. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. One of my wife's favorite scripture comes from the book of James. Vanessa and Dominique and all of y'all, you know it. It comes from the book of James. Count it all joy when you go through divers temptation, King James Version, knowing that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Let your patience be full and entire, wanting nothing, full that you want nothing. In other words, you're gonna face trials of life, but don't panic. That's what I hear you saying.
Oh yeah.
Don't panic. Don't freak out, because he's not only God in calm, but he's God in the storms. No matter what you go through, Jesus says, in this world you'll have trials and tribulation, but be of good cheer. Why? Because I have overcome the world. And what you're saying is we need to embrace the fact that he is not only the God, not a God. He's not in competition with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
He's not only the God when the sun is shining, but he's also the God that loves us when it's raining, during inclement weather. Candace Robins is my guest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get her to blot out a sermon or a song in a second. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. So, even though you believe that parents should be involved in the lives of their children when they're under the roof of the house, do you think that parents should demand their children, you do as I do, or you do as I say and do as I do? Because also you talked about in the podcast, you talked about, allow your children room to make mistakes. Yeah. In the house.
And ask questions too. So it's allowing your children to make mistakes and allowing them to ask questions while they're in the home, because this is like we're prepping our children for, as they get older, they get to high school, they get to college, they go and get into their careers. And so it's one of those things is I want you to be able to make certain mistakes while we're at home, so we can talk about it, have these questions. I can answer questions about, that you may be thinking about your sexuality or how, your body.
Oh, you didn't say sexuality in church, did you? No,
or
you
your
didn't.
Fears about, your anxieties or depression, whatever it is, like making sure that those conversations are being had, and then also like giving them certain responsibilities of like, hey, this person wants to go to, maybe, they have a friend that may be in question that you just like, I don't want them hanging out with them. But also seeing it as an opportunity of like, hey, asking the right questions to your child of like, hey, I've noticed whenever you come back home, you always seem to be, frustrated after you or whatever. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And then it gives them a chance in my mind to just think about like, hey, is this friendship a healthy friendship? And you can talk about even those things about healthy friendships. I think it's just very vital for parents to create a space to make mistakes and to try new things. I don't want you to wait till you in your 30s to try something. It's like you could take risk here, but we can still, with guardrails, like we can there's a certain layer of protection that's available Because when when you're out of the house, like I think you have a couple of children that don't even live in Mississippi anymore.
All three of our
and
children
you don't
live
know
out
what's
of
going.
state.
And
One
it's kind of one of those
Florida,
things.
one lives in Missouri, one lives in
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah, and I think a lot of times as parents, you kind of like, I hope they got some good sense out there. I don't know,
Yeah,
but it's one of those things of you can at least go out knowing like, hey, I know during the time I taught them X, Y, or Z, or there was room, or you kind of feel like your children a little bit in a way of a little bit more intimately in a way.
And it's not the fact that they're going to do everything exactly the way you did it,
right?
And give them room
to be who they are.
to embrace their own individuality. As opposed to you're going to do exactly what I do and you're going to do it the way I do it. And even though you would like for them to follow your path, God didn't create zombies. He didn't create robots.
Yeah.
He created he created people with different personalities.
Right.
So, but even though you grew up in a faith-filled home, that it was intentional, you were at church all the time, did you really get to an age, or what age did you get to that you say, I got to get this thing for myself, or this is what I want to do? It's called that defining moments. I want you to contemplate that as we come back on the other side of our break. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us today with my guest, Candace Robins. So the motivation, the impetus, the passion behind defining moment is, I believe, that, and by the way, God named this program. I didn't sit down and say, let me come up with 10 different program names and scratch. God gave me the name Defining Moments. Why? He says, because I give each of my children that moment, that second, that I confront them with their created purpose. Okay, that they're mature enough to understand I created you for this. Yeah. Now, at that crossroads, defining moment, they're either going to embrace it or they're going to push back on it. For some, that's their only encounter. For many, he pursues them multiple times. Yeah. Okay.
That was my journey.
Yeah, he pursues them multiple, like, okay, I'm knocking. I'm knocking. I'm knocking. I'm knocking. My wife and I, we liken it as to like the Holy Spirit talking to us. Listen, the more you listen to the Holy Spirit, that is the God, that is the third person of Jesus, that is third person of the Trinity inside of us. The more you listen to him, then the louder he speaks in a quiet voice. But the less you listen to him, his voice gets quieter, 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 quieter. And you're no longer able to hear, and now you're living in a kind of way. It's not the fact that he's dead. Yeah. It's the fact that you've quit listening to him, and the volume of the world has turned up louder. Holy Spirit is still, but you've drowned him out with the distractions of the world. And so the motivation of defining moments is God gives each of us defining moments. Now, the Larry Nix part, and in true transparency, I had to fight with God. God says, the name of the program is Defining Moments with Larry Nix. I said, God, and I'd gone through a season like, God, I don't want to be seen as arrogant, trying to promote myself, narcissistic, arrogant, and private. God said, that's why I'm allowing you to put your name in the program. Because you're everything but that now. Yeah. You know, you're using it to pursue me, to build my kingdom and not yours. So for you, was there a decisive, defining moment that Candace said, I know what I'm supposed to do?
I wouldn't say. I feel like there were moments, not a particular moment. So I guess I'll just share one of the many moments. And that was probably when I started working at Jackson Leadership Foundation full time. And I served on the board prior for about 9 months before I was hired as an employee. And so when I started meeting with the ministry leaders and serving alongside them and doing different things, I realized, man, this is the work that the Lord has called me to do. I can't see myself doing anything else other than this. And then the neat thing is, I've already been doing this work all my life. It just looked different. I did it when I was serving at Camp Pioneer as a as one of the counselors, working with the girls that were in my cabin, and discipling them and helping develop them and grow them as young women. I did that as I served in multiple roles at my church. Growing up, I did that as the assistant music director at other churches that I've played for, and so it's just one of those things of like, it was the Lord did not he didn't give me a new skill or something like that. It was something that was already in me that I had already been doing, and so I think that was probably one of the moments where it was like, this is something that I can do. Because growing up, and that's why I kind of was going into medical field, there wasn't a lot of career choices that I had heard of other than maybe being a doctor, a lawyer, teacher. There were certain professions, and so I had no idea you could do this full time, right? And so when I got into it, it was life changing for me.
All right, so I don't know what your salary is. I don't want to get into that. I don't know what your salary is, but I'm making an assumption that it's probably not $2 million a year.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you can make $2 million a year as a doctor. Okay, I'm pretty sure that you're not. I may be surprised that you're probably not living in a 20-bedroom home. You could be. I don't know, but as a doctor, you probably could be living in a 20-bedroom home. So for those that are watching, for those that are listening, and say, but I want so much in life. I don't think ministry is going to be able to give it to me, but I feel a pull to do this, like you said.
Yeah.
How do you rationalize that?
I think you have to walk in your calling.
Woo!
And I feel like the Lord will do the rest. One of the things I realized is, just like even with me, He removed the desire for me to even continue my studies. And I feel like that's, your heart will lean into where the direction that the Lord is guiding you to. So a lot of those things, I think at one point in time that we all wanted to, this, or we wanted that, and we want the picket fence. And, as you get older,
Me too.
Your needs change, right? Your heart changes as you get more into your word. Your desires are not going to be the same desires that you had when you were 10, 20, 30. And so it's one of those things where I'm just like, keep living and keep following the path and reading your word and just, allowing the Lord to steer you. And I feel like if we keep those things, if those things are constant, then we will be at peace. The Lord will bring us a peace.
So let me say this, and this is an admission, and I don't want anybody to wreck, their vehicle. I'm not sinless.
Yeah.
Larry Nix is not sinless. I have faults. I have flaws. I'm not sinless. I try to sin less every day. And I don't mean that to be funny. I'm not sinless. I'm not without fault. But I deliberately try to sin less. I try to watch how I live my life every day to make sure that it is a representation of Jesus Christ. That if he shows up any moment, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm good. I'm ready to go. As opposed to, let me fix some things, So that's number one. And I know that I belong to him, and I belong that he's trusting me with this. Now, every now and then I'll get a call from the corporate world trying to woo me back in it, because I had a pretty successful career in broadcasting, and the Lord transitioned me, and now my focus is on ministry. I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing. Now I'm like, okay, Lord. I came out of a $1 billion industry that you just snap your hands. And I was in a position that I had people working. I had employees working under me as general manager and vice president. They'd be working for me. Like, only thing I had to do was just call the accountant and say, I need this and need that, and I need to make a trip to New York. And okay, dude, you got to do that. And the Lord says, now that was good, but that's not God. Now I'm going to shift your plan. And I said, Lord, now, but you have this inside of me. How in the world? Because I know broadcasting. I know how much it costs to get this stuff done. Lord, and I pursued this and almost hit financial ruin, chasing this with lawyers and lawyer fees and stuff like that. And the Lord said, you do it my way. You do it my way. And trust me. And that's why I don't try to embarrass them. I don't try to make them out of little gods. But God said, you do it my way, and I'm going to show you what's going to bring me glory.
And
And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When I release the steering wheel, when I release the steering wheel and say, God is yours, my life, my dreams, my aspirations, my ambition. When I release the steering wheel, God said, I'm gonna show you something.
Yeah.
Now everything you thought you needed, that you needed to be in this position, I'm going send you the best. I'm about to embarrass her real good right about now. God sent me people like Kim, who's I call her my super producer. Man, you think it's me? It's not me. You see me, but the real essence of the brilliance of this program are the people behind the scenes that you don't see. Like Kim, I call her my super producer. All right, like Crystal.
Yeah.
The graphics, like Frank, the manager of the station, like Devontae, like Doris, and like Zeke, and like Clay, and other people that touch this program, and like the studio, built from hand. We didn't hire a company to come in with $100,000 budget, built from hand, because and God gave me every color in my heart. He said, "This is the color I want your logo. This is the design I want your logo." And I need to take picture shots. God said, "But now you know I got that, don't you?" And all of a sudden, Kim walks in and said, "I got you." So I'm good looking because I take after my mom and daddy, but Kim put some real good touching on that picture. God will do it if you if you let go of the steering wheel. Don't worry about, well, if I take this job, am I going to be able to afford this house or this car? You're talking about God. Now take it from there before I start preaching, Candace.
Oh, no, you're fine. And so to what you were saying, I agree, especially with, doing things in God's timing. So if there's someone that's interested in being like, starting a community, being a ministry leader in the city, it's not, we have our own plans. Like what's the old saying is there's more than one way to skin a cat.
That's right.
And so I've seen ministry leaders who have just completely stopped, quit their jobs and started ministries. I've seen ministry leaders who started off part-time and then they did this. I've seen some that waited till they retire. So it's kind of that's why it's important to be listening to where the Lord, how does it look like in your life?
And excuse me for interrupting. I know it sounds crazy. You're going to quit $100,000 a year job plus, and you're going to go work on a job that, Lord, now my light bill is due next month, don't you? I've been one of those people working for a huge corporation, Hearst Communication, global.
Yeah.
And like, okay, God, I'm now my trajectory is to be at the network level. That's where I want to go. I want to get to New York. I want to get to Los Angeles. I want to get to Chicago. I want to get to Detroit. Those are the top Atlanta. Those are the top 10 markets. That's my plan. Lord said, now that's your plan.
Yeah.
But I need to interrupt it because now this is how important, this is how serious it is to me. If I don't interrupt it, then you don't get the blessing of meeting Candace.
Yeah.
If I don't interrupt it, you don't get the blessing of meeting Kim. If I don't interrupt it, you don't get the blessing of meeting Andrea or Dee or Crystal or Frank. And that's more important to me than you being a hot shot in New York.
Yeah.
Probably won't have a family by now. Probably be divorced by your wife. You'll probably be visiting your children and they not knowing really who you are. You're sending them money, but they don't really want your money. They want their daddy.
Yeah.
I just feel convicted to say that.
Oh, it's good.
Because there are some people out there that are struggling right now that you're focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You're focused on people, places, and things when God wants you to put your focus on Him.
Absolutely.
Now, you may not have a Rolls Royce. You may ultimately not have a car. But let me tell you what I have at night when I go to bed. Peace.
Yep. And you have to trust that the Lord will take care of you. Because He will. And I don't want it. And it's also one of those things that ministry work, a lot of times when people get into it, they're about being the hands and feet, but they sometimes that's where we come alongside of like these back office things that you need to do in order to sustain your ministry. So you can be financially, able to kind of take care of, your household as well as the sustainability of the organization over time. When you think about fundraising, when you think about donor engagement, like there's some different things that a lot of times fall by the wayside because you don't have enough staff members, or you aren't utilizing volunteers, or there's just some other things that I think that we can kind of help bridge to get some more resources and collaborating to where people can be able to achieve some of those things that they desire.
You said something very important, because God didn't remove the gifts and talent that he had put inside of me. God says, I put those inside of you for my glory, not yours, for my kingdom, not yours. It's interesting because you're a strategist.
Yep.
You're a strategic planner. God didn't remove those things. He just pivot them over to ministries, because now how many ministries work under the shelter under your umbrella?
We, as far as financially, we have 4, but we work probably with over 30, 40 ministries.
So how does that make you feel that that the gifts and talent that the Lord has put inside of you help survives and help thrives ministries like that? That you give breath, you give life, you give administrative support, you give inspiration and strategies to these ministries to help grow and not burn out.
I feel blessed because this is not the easy work. A lot of people hate the nuts and bolts that I have to deal with, the leadership, those strategic planning items and board governance. Like, this is the stuff that a lot of times it's like most ministry leaders, when they sign up, they want to help people. They didn't sign up to sit behind a desk. And so those are the conversations that we're having to have. And I enjoy get to be able to help support them and walk them through all of those things. So yeah, it's an honor to be able to serve these people.
Stay tuned. So is money the answer to everything?
No, it's a help. It's a resource. It's a tool, but it's not the answer. Like, you could have a budget, millions of dollars, but you will still have, other things that challenges when it comes to running any organization or a business. You'll have that.
I think I think we need to do a better job. I think the church, and I'm just not going to put it, that's a general, statement. I think the church, I think parents, I think teachers, I think schools, I think everybody need to do a better job of prioritizing the purpose of money. Money is a currency.
Yep.
It's a tool. It's not God.
Yeah,
that
I agree.
We've
it's
made
not
it
gonna
to
fix
be.
everything.
Yeah, money is not going to fix everything. In fact, that Jesus said to the disciples, he said, "What shall a profit man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? What shall a man give in exchange for it?"
Yep. Because if you can't budget,
you were saying money is not money. And I want to say this, and I've said this at least 50 times, and this is broken English, right? So I know how to speak the King's English properly. God don't mind you having stuff.
Right.
He don't want stuff having you.
right? Exactly.
Money is not evil.
Yep.
It's the worship of money.
Exactly.
Money is a tool. You were
Exactly.
saying what?
Yeah, I was just saying, you can, to what you were mentioning about, if you have all the money in the world, or, as far as for organization, where you can have money, but if you don't know how to steward the funding that you have, if you don't know how to, when it comes to staffing, treating them well, if you don't know how to run a board, like the money will just go away. It's just kind of one of those things of like, you can have money there, but there's still some other things that you need to be doing.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
You can have a great idea. Somebody will come in and give you $100,000, but if you don't know how to steward that,
if you don't know how to budget it, then it's going to, by the end of the year, that money's going to be gone. Then what? Right? And so it's like, what does it look like? How do we add to this? How do we sustain this? How do we utilize the resources that we have to stretch it a little bit further?
So what advice would you give? We only have about 8 minutes left, not 80. But what advice would you give that person that desire, two-part question. Number one, what advice would you give someone who has a burning desire to start a nonprofit, but they don't know how?
Okay, well, I would say you could talk to me. Go to our website at jacksonleadershipfoundation.org. That is part of the work that we do. We work with a lot of new emerging leaders. So if you don't have a nonprofit start and you want to, then I would consider them coming to sit and have a chat with me, and we can just kind of talk about what that looks like. But before you do that, it's something I definitely would want you to have prayed about, thought about, and really, seek the Lord about before you even make the step of even reaching out.
Can you help them kind of, will your listening session be about helping them kind of hone in
Yeah.
Rather than them just throwing mud against the wall.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're all over the
I'm
place.
really good at helping. Like if you give me 100 ideas, I can help create 3, and
Wow.
how can you,
Now that's
and then I'm good, and I call myself an executioner because I'm really good at not just creating ideas, but helping you organize them and creating a plan to execute those.
Now that's
because you have a lot of visionaries out here. They have all these different dreams, and every time I hear you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to do this, and I haven't seen you do anything. Right. And so it's like, what's the first thing that we can do that's tangible, that's feasible in the next 3 months? How
That's
many
right.
people can we add to your
That's
mailing
right.
list?
That's right.
Who's in your network now,
That's right.
and how are you utilizing those people?
Start out with baby steps.
Yeah. What do you? Yeah, because I'm a firm believer of God has already given you something. What are you doing with what you have now?
Talk.
Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I want to start serving the homeless, and I want to. And all these things are good. I want to serve the homeless, but I need a big building.
And I want to go buy an 18-wheeler.
What are you doing with your home though? Do you not have access to food? Do you not have access to can you get some stuff, other things? Can you partnership? Are you working with some of the other local agencies? Because that's another thing. I believe in being submitted to other people because we can shadow and model other people. Because a lot of times people they want to start a new thing, and it's like, did you realize that sister such and such is doing the same thing?
So you're
over
a
there?
connector.
Oh yeah, I'm a connector as well.
You're like a broker. So
Yeah.
how can people get in contact with you again?
My email address is crobins@jacksonleadershipfoundation.org. Our website.
Repeat that again.
crobins, that's ROBINS @jacksonleadershipfoundation.org. Or you can just go to our website at jacksonleadershipfoundation.org, and you can just click on the contact and just you can and they'll basically send you to me. So whoever you email, I think it's an info, or it goes to our admin, and they'll connect you with me, and we can set up. And
for that person that feels that time has passed them by or they're too old,
it's not too late.
I'm glad you said that.
It's not too late.
If it's still inside of you, that means that God is still giving
your work
you.
is still to be done.
Every morning I wake up. Every morning, can you say every morning?
Yep.
Say every morning.
Yep.
Every morning that that God moves me from my subconsciousness to consciousness, I don't even open my eyes. And I spend about 10 minutes thanking the Lord for breath. I'm like, God, then my assignment is not up. Then after I spend about 10 minutes of prayer, then I open my eyes, I get on my knees. I don't even stand up. I roll out of bed on my knees. Then after I spend a few minutes on my knees, then I go into my morning devotion, which I spend about 45 minutes every day. Because it reminds me I'm alive. That means that my plan is not, God's plan for my life is not over. So what you're just saying is so encouraging. In fact, I want you to look at them, because they may feel overwhelmed, underwhelmed. They may feel too old. They may feel under-resourced. They may feel they're in the wrong zip code, the wrong skin, the wrong family name. What would you say?
I would say that we serve a big God, and we have the opportunity. He wants to use our gifts. He wants us to be a living vessel for him. And so I just encourage you to be a vessel and do what God has called you to do. And don't be afraid. I think a lot of times people do things operate out of fear, or we're timid, or we're shy. We feel like, I don't have this, I don't have that. And for me, I'm like, just jump in, I invite you to even get connected with our network, just to kind of hear from other people and see what they're doing. So, yeah.
And that's the Jackson Leadership Foundation. And don't worry about the fame. Don't worry about I'm not the fame. Let me tell you something. I mean this again. The real heroes of this program is not who you see on this camera.
Right.
The real heroes of this program is the people like the Kims, the people like the Devontaes, the Crystals, the Frank, the Darshes, the Clay, the Zeke, the people that have caught it.
Yep.
That people that have a vision and they execute the technology and the technological and the broadcast and all that stuff with the spirit of excellence, because they know that though my name may be on it, I've hit this mic 15 times today. All right. That and probably driving Kim crazy. Like, why is he hitting that mic? All right. That they know that it's not about elevating Larry, it's about elevating Jesus Christ.
Yep, I agree.
Candace Robins. She is my friend, Carla's friend, our friend. She's the director of programs for Jackson Leadership Foundation and is an extraordinary gift. You are a blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And ladies and
having me.
gentlemen, thank you for joining us. And remember to join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock for our uninterrupted interview on IgniteMS.tv. Be good to yourself and have a great day. We'll see you next time.